Alright, welcome to the channel. My name's James and today I'm going to walk you through how I paint my industrial style bases. This includes everything from the rust effects, the glow and the hazard stripes. You can also use this technique to paint your hazard stripes on your models, but that's enough waffle, let's get into it. We're going to start off by covering how I painted this industrial style base for my Ork Kommandos. For this you'll need some exhaust manifold, Mournfang brown, Balor brown, Thousand Suns blue, white scar, Abaddon black and some dirty down rust. For the second recipe you'll need exhaust manifold, Doombull brown, Rhinox hide and Troll Slayer orange. I'll be using fiery orange because I'm a bit old school and haven't bought the new one. Just a reminder, all the paints are down below in the description. So starting off, just lay down some exhaust manifold all over the metallic sections. Nice and quick, just get down a quick layer. Then for the area where we're going to be painting in the hazard stripes, we're going to lay down a nice even foundation of Mournfang brown. Now this might take 2 coats to get a nice solid foundation. We're going to follow that up with some Balor brown. This is basically just a yellow ochre. Now I prefer to use a yellow ochre for this because I think it gives a more grim, dark, gritty look to the base instead of going with a real vibrant looking yellow. If you wanted a bright yellow that really pops, I would say start from a white base and apply the yellow over the top of that. And that'll give you that punch and saturation. But for this one, we're going a wee bit more grimdark and a wee bit more gritty. So once you've applied 2 or 3 coats of Balor brown, you've achieved a nice opaque and saturated base. We're going to come in with the Abaddon black and start sketching out where our hazard stripes go. Now I like to start off with some nice thin lines. They don't even need to be perfect, they just need to give you a rough estimation of where your hazard stripes are going to be and the distance between each line. So you can see while I'm sketching out these lines, I'm moving with short strokes. I'm not too worried about keeping a straight line, just putting in that indication, working my way across the base. Now if you're really confident you can pull a line from one side of the base to the other, fair play, you're doing better than I am. So right now you're probably thinking this looks absolutely naff, and I'm right there with you, but we're going to start to thicken up each of the lines and make this look presentable. So whenever I'm thickening up the lines, I always move in the same direction, expanding the line either left or right. Once I've picked a side, I stick with that side for each of the subsequent lines. This way you keep the distance and the spacing the same between each of your hazard stripes and it looks more uniform. While I'm working in this sketching phase, I'm not too worried about creating opaque layers or creating solid black lines. I'm really just ensuring that my sketch is correct, the lines are all straight and the same distance apart. Once I've established all of that, then I go back over with a few layers of Abaddon black and just make sure all of my lines are nice and solid and opaque. Now I know someone in the comments gonna say, why would you not just put down some tape and do this with an airbrush or with the brush? And the long and short of it is, I'm too lazy to get out tape and do that process. I think this is just as quick and just as simple as it is to mask off the different areas and then paint over them and touch up the lines after removing the tape. Plus I also think this is a pretty good exercise in practicing brush control and achieving nice straight lines whenever you're painting. So once you're happy with the overall appearance of your hazard stripes, we're going to come in and add some chipping. It just helps to add another level of detail to it. It helps to incorporate the lines into the scene as well. So again, we're coming in with that Balor brown and we're just going to start to apply some chips, some scratches, some damage to the black lines to make it look like they've been painted on top of the yellow base. Whenever you're doing this, just come in, add in a few stipples, a few lines, a few scratches, just make it as interesting as you want. But whenever you're doing this, try to keep it simple as well. Less is generally more whenever you're doing this sort of thing, and if you add in too many scratches, chips or damage, it can become a bit overwhelming and a bit overpowering. Now the Balor brown should cover over the black reasonably well. It may cover in one pass, but it may just need a wee touch up with some additional stipples or additional chips to really get that opacity to the colour. Now this is where the magic happens. If you've not checked out Dirty Down Rust before, it is basically just magic in a bottle. I don't know how it works. I probably don't want to know how it works because it might spoil the magic for me. What you're going to do is just going to slap this down all over the metallics and over the edge of our hazard stripe area. Now this paint is water soluble, so whenever you apply it you can just clean off your brush, come in with some water and clean up any areas as well. I'm going to use the rust that's on the base and on the hazard stripes to add some staining and some water effects to this area, and also help to incorporate that grim dark grimy look to the entire base. So you can see I just went into my dirty down, add a load of water to it, and basically just treated it like a wash all over that hazard stripe area. I'm again applying more layers of dirty down rust over the metallics just to help build up different layers of rust, different amounts of rust over the metallic sections. This also helps to increase the amount of variation in the base and just makes it more interesting to look at. You can see him come back in with that wash as well, spotting it on in different places just to make it look like some stuff has been spilt on the base and create a bit more interest and variation in that area. Then I just hit it with the hairdryer, and right before your eyes you can see those rust effects developing over the base. You can see that staining developing as well, and this is pretty much what you're left with. I think this product works extremely well for things like this. It creates fantastic deep rust effects. So then coming back in with our exhaust manifold, and we're basically going to use this to almost like edge highlight parts of the metallics. I'm kind of letting my brush just dance along the edge to make it look like chips, scratches, and general just wear and tear over these areas. Just helps to bring out some of the details and some of the structures within the base. So for anyone that's wondering where I got this base, it's a free STL that's available online. I'll drop a link in the description below if you want to go check it out and you have access to a 3D printer. So again, less is more with these chips. Don't go too over the top with it or you'll lose some of that rust effect. If you've been a bit heavy-handed and you've ended up applying too much of the exhaust manifold, you can come back in with a damp brush and reactivate the dirty down rust that's on the base. I just thought some additional lighting effects on the base would look quite cool, so I've grabbed some Thousand Suns Blue here, just applying that over some areas that kind of looked like lights or kind of looked a bit like plasma coils in some way, just laying down a nice even foundation. I've then grabbed some white, thinned that down to kind of like a wash consistency. I'm just applying that into the edges. Now this may reactivate some of the dirty down rust, but don't worry about that. We're going to paint over that with more Thousand Suns Blue just to boost the saturation of these glow effects. If you're enjoying the video so far, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and helps promote the videos. Also, don't forget to give that subscribe a wee slap and a tickle. So I've added some Thousand Suns Blue into my white, and I'm just applying that over the areas that I painted white. This will just help to boost the luminosity and the value of the colour, making it appear like it's glowing. Once you're all said and done, you've painted the rim black, your base should look something like this, and I think the combination of the hazard stripes along with the dirty down rust effects and the almost like water staining on top of it creates a really interesting and dynamic base. Let's say you don't want to go out and buy more products to create these rust effects. We're going to do it with some acrylic paints now. So we have some Rhinox Hide, some Doombull Brown and some orange on the palette, and I've basically thinned these down to effectively quite close to a wash consistency. And I'm just slapping these on the base without a care in the world, just placing the colours on top of each other, letting them bleed together, letting them mix together, applying some thicker parts, some thinner parts, just letting the paint do whatever it wants to do. This is an attempt to create that variation and those shifts in colour, in value and intensity to give you that sort of almost mottled look to your rust effects. So you can see I'm just coming in with the orange here, dotting it in different places, applying it over the top of those already wet paints. Very much a wet on wet experience here. Now it's best to let this dry and build it up over multiple layers, so I'm going to hit this real quick with a hairdryer and then start adding a bit more to it. So you can see the first layer is all dry, and now I'm coming back in with different variations of the colour, kind of stippling it on there, creating this almost mottled look to the rust. This helps to add some texture and some variation to the surface. And again, there's not too much thought going into this either. I'm just, again, taking some colours, popping them about the place, stippling them on, trying to create some mottling here, there and everywhere. Adding some more orange where I think some more moisture or some more water might be collecting. And once it's all dry, you end up with something that looks a bit like this. Now it's a wee bit flatter, but it's still super interesting and does give you that impression of rust building up over the surface. Then coming back in with the exhaust manifold, we're going to hit a few edge highlights, add in some scratches, some details, exactly the same way as we did on the first base. Just remember, less is more whenever you're doing this, so just try to hit a few edges and a few different details in places where the rust may have got worn away and the underlying metals have been exposed. And here they are side by side. You can see the straight acrylics still hold up pretty well against the dirty down rust. Obviously if you added in a few more colours and you had a bit more variance in there, it would probably look quite close. Even adding in some purples can be quite interesting. Now you don't always have to go out and buy these industrial bases, you can make them yourself. So the one on the left here I've made with a few pieces from an old tank kit, and some metal wire. I'm going to quickly run you through how I did that here. So I'm just gluing these pieces onto a base using some plastic glue, just trying to line them up so they look somewhat interesting. Now once that's all dried and in place, I've come in with my clippers and I'm just cutting away the excess material around the side of the base. You don't have to be too precise with this, just, you know, come in, bash away at it, get rid of the excess material, and you're golden. So once you've removed the bulk of the material, come in with your hobby knife and clean up the edges. Now you should cut away from yourself here, don't do as I do, be smart, be safe. Once you've cleaned up most of the base, it should look a bit like this, and then we just come in with a soft sander, touch up the edges, smooth everything out, and we're golden. Now I've just added a couple of pieces of 1mm wire on top, but you can use guitar string, you can use paper clips, you can use whatever works to achieve the desired effect. And once we're all said and done, just pop your models on the bases and they should look something like this. I think that dirty down rust alongside the hazard stripes of that water staining looks fantastic. The addition of those extra lights just adds another dimension to the base. Even where we've just mottled on those acrylic paints, you can still see that grim, dark, rusty style coming through, making your bases super interesting with minimal work. And even our homemade base holds up against these purpose-built products. I look forward to seeing your models on some grim, dark industrial bases. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have any comments, questions or suggestions for future videos, please drop them below in the comments. And if you want to show me what you've been working on, head on over to the Discord and drop some pics into the whips or the completed projects. I'd love to see what you've been painting. If you'd like to get some personalised coaching and tuition, head on over to the Patreon and check out the available packages. There'll be something there to suit everybody. All links can be found below in the description. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you at the next one.